Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to the Think Big podcast. Today is a special day. It's Tuesday, like every other week. Yo, this is our 48th episode, which I'm super excited about. And we can't get to 50 without getting to bring Jonah on here, Mr. Jonah Korchin himself. How are you doing today, brother?
Dude, I'm doing good. That was a fire 30-second one. That was like a fire beat. Like that inspired me to make it my 30-second countdown, like not just the typical StreamYard one, but one that actually has some really good music.
You want to know the secret behind that beat?
I don't know. Tell me.
I'll tell you after the podcast.
Okay.
So messed up.
All right. Sure. Sounds good to me. I mean, it was fire. I like it a lot. No, I'm glad to be here. I love you boys. Anytime you guys text me, I'm always down. Do you guys care? There's literally a top right corner that says stream this to your audience. Do you guys care if I click that? Might bring some people in here.
Well, that's pretty cool.
I didn't know that it did that. So think big. I'm on.
While Jonah's getting that sent out to his audience, first off, what up, everybody? Shout out to you guys for joining us back again. I love when I go to my YouTube page and people already have thumbs up. People are leaving comments in there. So shout out to Abraham, shout out to Donabella, shout out to D Cornell. Appreciate you guys showing up on time, showing up early. Today on this episode, right? It's funny because sometimes people are like, yo, what's the topic going to be? And I'm like, this week's episode, where we decided we're going to talk about two things. One, we wanted to have, and Jonah, we didn't even tell Jonah. Jonah, we were just like, Jonah, can you come on the podcast?
Yeah, I literally was right before this. So wait, what are we talking about? Yeah. What are we doing,
dude? So today's episode, we're going to talk about two topics. One is first off, knucklehead mistakes that new people make when they're looking to JV on deals, because we've been getting a bit of that where people are just making these knucklehead mistakes. And I think it's coming from just honestly, it's a lack of communication and a lack of, it's almost like you're not being taught how to, it's like common courtesy or common etiquette of what you're supposed to do in a deal. So I just want to kind of go over some simple practices that's going to prevent people from wanting to rip each other's throats out during doing deals. And then outside of that, I just wanted to talk with you guys and I kind of figure out life and what's going on as you guys are growing in your businesses, as you're entering into these new chapters of life. Because I know for myself, I'm personally finding myself encountering new challenges as I'm growing. Even this month for me was 6-figure September. And
let go.
Yeah, technically I hit that. I did that last week. But funny enough, it doesn't feel like I did it because I did it in a way. I wanted to do it in one way and it happened in another way. Right. So it didn't happen in the intended way. So it almost feels like I didn't do it yet, if that makes sense.
So you're saying you accidentally made $100K last month? You just stumbled into $100,000?
Right.
That's what you're saying?
It's kind of what it feels like. I tripped and fell and $100K
crazy
bank account. But I wanted to do it in a different way. But so before we get into that, into my accidental 6 figures, I want to dive into some of the stuff that people make as mistakes when they're looking to JV with each other. And for anyone that's brand new to the world of entrepreneurship, JV stands for joint venture. It's a pretty common term used across all of entrepreneurship. It's not just real estate, but in business buying, in collaborating, people will oftentimes say JV as a joint venture partnership. So it's just two individuals coming together, not necessarily making an LLC or an official business together, but simply coming together on an agreement to transact or do some form of a deal or business transaction together. I'm curious, have you guys run into any knucklehead newbies when looking to JV?
Yeah, all the time for me.
It's literally all day, every day.
It's part of the transaction. It's part of the transaction.
Yeah. Best practices for them, right? Not for us.
For them.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, just give value. We talk about that so much. I feel like that's a topic that I talk about a ton, and I know all of you boys talk about a ton too. 90% of the messages we get, guys, is, hey, I've got a deal. Let's get on a phone call, right? I could use some help with it, which is just the wrong way to do it. The right way to do it is like, hey, here's the address, here's the ARV, here's the percentage, here's how you're going to make money, right? The flip, here's how we're going to make money. If it's a creative deal, here's how we're going to make money. Even if you just come to me, and even if it's a lead, at least give me like all the info. Show you put in a bunch of work, and then I'll be much more happy to be like, okay, here's the buy price. I have this little thing that I give out to everyone. I could give it out to you too, but like I have this thing where like if somebody sends me stuff, but I don't think they've done enough work, I just send them like, come back to me when you have all of this info. And 9 times out of 10, they don't come back. And then I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought.
Bro, I love that, right? Because it's a filtration system. And like at some point when you start to get established in your business and your system, this is the most efficient way to JV with people. And oddly enough, I've had people take that as being rude, right? When they feel like, hey, you know, I reached out to Marlon or Jonah or Sam, and they just sent me this link saying, you know, fill this in and then we could talk. And what they don't realize is you're reaching out so that you can get a deal done and you can make money. I'm sending you this template to help that happen faster, right? To help expedite the process and to teach. This is what's important. These are the necessary details needed for us to have a conversation to accomplish the goal, right? We're not just here to hang out. Like as much as like we will hang out when we're doing deals together, we're not just here to hang out and just be friends and just be buddies. And I think sometimes people forget that part about JVing, where yes, it is about building relationships, but it's not only about just hanging out and goofing around. Let's also maintain intention on getting to the finish line. And these are the things that are needed as non-negotiables. So Jonah, I love the fact that you actually like send people the link of like, yo, basically don't follow back up about this unless you have this information.
I don't do a link. But it's like a list of questions. It's like 8 questions that I'm like, if you have the answers to this, I'm down. If you don't, you haven't done the minimum amount of work for yourself to even know if it's a deal. Anyways, you're going to do this and then you're going to realize it's not a deal. And then you're going to come and hopefully you'll come back to me later with something that is a deal.
Yep. That's
just how I feel about it. It's like, in a way, I've given you value by just giving you the questions.
Dude.
Like just by that. But the fact like, okay, at least you know now what you need, right? But I don't know. People sometimes don't see it that way. Some people get butthurt, but it's okay. I don't want to do business with those people anyways. Most people just don't respond after that. I'm like, okay, well, is what it is.
Yeah, no, it's a great, like, honestly, I have my website. Funny enough, my website, I checked the other day, my website, JV with Marlon, is still live. And when you go on there, there's little stars in the box. Like, basically, you can't even submit this until you have this information filled in. And that took care of problems right then and there. Like, when people would reach out, like, hey, like, how do we do a deal together? JVwithmarlon.com, fill in everything that's red. Everything was red. Like, everything, it just made so much sense. What about you, Alejandro and Sam? You guys run into like any things with like
Sam is on like Tinder right now or something, dude. He's just on his phone, like doing what
bro, he's setting the mood.
I'm on Instagram. I'm pushing people here.
I'm kidding.
To show up for Jonah and his chest hair.
I appreciate it. I should go live on Instagram.
But Alejandro, you go first.
Sure. I run into it all the time, man. I would say a lot of time people send me deals that they need help with and they want a JV, and I would love to, but I would say 7 out of 10 times they only send me an address. Hey, I need help with this. I'm like, okay, well, do you need help with spelling it? I'm confused. I really don't do any assumptions. This is something I stopped doing last year, is making assumptions, because that can get you in trouble very easily. You know, when someone says something, and let's say, for example, someone sends me an address and I'm like, okay, I'm going to start underwriting it. I'm going to, hey, this is a deal at this number. And they respond, oh, I already have it on a contract. Yeah, you don't need to do it. And I'm like, oh. So I just stopped making assumptions. I'm like, hey, can you clarify a little bit what you mean by this address? What do you need help with? And then also when I'm doing JV stuff, when it comes to selling a deal, disciplining a deal together, I like to have exclusive rights to that JV, because I like to avoid marketing to the same buyer and just looking really stupid in front of other professional buyers out there. Like, hey, this guy just sent it to me for $10,000 less. I'm confused. Which one is the right price? Like, what are you guys trying to do here? So I make sure I have exclusive rights to that agreement for at least 72 hours, just because that's how long it takes us to get a response or sell the deal. Sam and I, we both have, what is it, cartel mode, right? An investors live, Sam. So we can post a deal and we can instantly give you within a couple of minutes whether it's a deal or not. And we also have VIP. So whenever you guys are bringing JV deals, don't send it to me and then send it to 10 other people and, just expect for me to actually put my full effort into it when other people are marketing. I'm just going to tell you straight up, like, hey man, I'm not interested in that. Like, if you have other people marketing it, like, let me know. If they fail, then you can bring it to me. But at that point, it's probably not a deal anyways. So that's what I run to most of the time.
So I have two things that I want to hit on. Number one is newbies tend to not know what the hell they want with the deal. What I mean by that is they'll have a lead, and the lead will have some level of interest. And then what will happen is they will naturally, like, here's the address, here's the numbers, and then there you go. And then the question ends up being, what do you want to do with this? Do you want to keep this? Do you want to wholesale this? Do you want to flip this? Do you want to, have me do all the work? And, what a lot of times will happen is and that's number one. So have clarity in what you want. Number two, I'm actually going to go 3 parts here. Number one is have clarity in what you want. Number two is if you are deferring to someone who is more experienced and basically just more along in the business than you are, that's great. Trust them. If you're going to come to them and you're going to have them carry the baton, you are in no position to try to be the decision maker after that. One thing that's very tricky for me, and it's one of the reasons why I stopped JVing for a long time, we're doing it again, but in a very unique, protected setup, is we had crushed, we're well over 100 deals now. We're actually almost close to 200 deals now. And what got tiring was for me to have brand new people who've never done a single deal before, never seen a transaction through A to Z, never done it, bring our team a lead, and then try to be the decision maker on what happens next. We know what's highest and best. Usually the person that you go to who's more experienced, you're going to them because they know. You're going to them because they have transacted. So in that instance, there needs to be a good faith approach, in my opinion, where and of course, protect yourself with the proper JV agreement, with proper paperwork. But if you were going to go to them and you were going to surrender control of the next step, surrender control for all the next steps. If the highest and best use on that property is to wholesale it, we will tell you. If the highest and best exit strategy is to wholesale, close on it with some private capital and relist it back on market, we will tell you. What ends up becoming really tricky is when my team of closers who've done tons and tons and tons of transactions and they know exactly what they're doing are being bossed around by newbies who've never seen a single transaction through. And the problem is usually the reason why is scarcity mindset starts crouching in, right? If we wholesale, am I still going to get my 50%? If we wholesale, am I still going to get 50%? If we list it with an agent, what's happening with me? And what ends up happening is there's always this recurring theme of me, I. And then what we've quickly found is that the more seasoned the operator that you work with, who you trust to do these transactions, what will typically happen is they don't actually give too much of a damn about what your cut is, what their cut is, what everyone's unique cut is in every exit strategy. They typically care about, let's do what needs to be done to get the transaction done to the finish line. And let's not, and this is the most critical thing. I will end relationships if my team ever senses that this is being breached. And it's one of the greatest things. I've said it 25 times on Think Big. I'll keep saying it. It is do not step over dollars for pennies. Don't step over dollars for pennies. We just had this happen to us. We just opened up our Dispo program because, like Alejandro mentioned, we are officially cartel bosses now. So now that we have this access and we've got basically 4.585 million buyers nationwide, we have all the hedge funds, all the good stuff. What naturally happens, we're going to ramp up our disposition JV. And then what happens is we had someone bring us a deal and we're working it. And we actually found a buyer really quickly. And this person to Alejandro's point, we've decided last week to make the switch to everything we do on the JV is with exclusivity, not for 72 hours, but for or not for a day, for minimum 3 business days. And the reason why is because we went and found the buyer, we did the work, we actually negotiated with the buyer and got a super high number from them. And then because the frontline wholesaler, who's the first deal, they're just scarcity mindset, what did they do? They went and posted it, took the first offer they saw, signed the assignment, and then were committed and locked into them. And then they tried to back out of that transaction when they found out that we had someone higher. Now, the problem is this: you signed the assignment, you got to fall through on your word. But what happened to me and my team? My team put in work. My team put in their time to not get paid. So number one is know what the hell it is you want to do. Number two is operate in good faith and trust the operator that you're going to. You're going to them for a reason. You're going to them because they know what they're doing. If you knew everything about everything, you wouldn't need them in the first place, and then you can make all the decisions. The second that you defer to someone above you and you give them the baton, let them make the decisions. Will they eventually burn you at some point? Will someone burn you? Absolutely. It's an inevitability, and that's okay. If you want to get the most out of every single transaction as much as you can in the JV process, trust the people who've done dozens, if not hundreds, if not thousands of deals to know what the hell it is they're talking about. And then number three, this really just kind of is a mindset thing, guys, is it is okay. It is absolutely okay to make very little on a deal in the beginning of a new JV relationship. Right. An element of that saying, don't step over dollars for pennies, is we actually had someone in this person. We had another person who did this, and this is why this is all coming out this week. We had someone else basically allow us to do the dispo side, and then they basically committed to someone else without telling us, which is, again, our bad for not doing the exclusivity on that one. And then here's the reason. Here's why. $500 more.
Bro.
$500 more with someone else. And that's totally fine. I get it, right? $500 is a lot of money. Here's what happened. By doing that and not communicating it properly, when we challenge this question, it's like, hey, you do realize that this person, nothing against them, you do this deal with them, you'll make an extra 500 net, 100%. I totally get that. That person, it's like their second deal ever. You work with us, you will leverage all of our resources, our structure, our foundation, because we are going after a relationship. And then you will make tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands in the long run with us. You do understand that. And then because of scarcity mindset, because it was like their first or second deal or something to that effect, and they're kind of in survival mode, I understand it. I do. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. They said $500 is more important. Great. Never reach out to my team again. And so I have to be a little bit more serious with the JV side of things now. And here's the reason why. Guys, I want to speak to the business owners here. It's a lot of people who are solopreneurs, and then it's okay for people to waste your time because you're a solopreneur. You're the only one it hurts. For me, when you come to my team and then you try to work with us and the deal doesn't go through because you made a decision, totally fine. You're not hurting me. I make money. I've got a lot of business ventures. We do well. I'm okay. I'm not in it for me. I have team members who don't get 100% of the assignment. I have team members who this is their income stream to feed their families, to feed their kids. So when you come to the team because you're chasing $500 more here or there, you're not taking it from me. You're taking it from my people. So we have a core tenet that my team has at Arch, and it's not don't waste my time. It's don't waste my team's time. Biggest thing. So that's all very stern and serious, but this is an unfortunate truth. And here's the thing. I wish everybody the best. Truly do. Everyone, I wish you all the best. I wish everyone makes $50 million a year. I wish you all get to go and live the most abundant lifestyle ever. We just don't have time for you to come to the realizations that this is, like Jade says, a long game and not a short game. Okay, I'm off my soapbox now.
Ooh, man. That was so good.
I like it. I like it. Can I the funny thing is that this is a different thing with everyone, and this is just an extra point to this that I just want to go off of. I actually love doing non-exclusive deals. I don't mind the chaos as much as these boys do. The point is the communication is what I feel like is the biggest key. That's like even beyond what they're saying is it's the communication of what may or may not happen. That's super important for these relationships. Like the point of $500 in screwing someone, it's not even about the $500. It's about the fact you didn't communicate at all with anybody. And that's the most important thing. Like what is important, it's important for us to communicate as the leaders. And it's also important for you guys to communicate what you want, right? And setting expectations with these relationships. So like for me, I don't mind the non-exclusive if like you've already locked it up and you're just looking for buyers. And I think I could find you a buyer in a day because I have a dispo powerhouse. So I'm like, I bet I could beat you to finding a buyer, right? What I always tell them though is like, if I get you your price, that means it's mine, right? That means we sell it, right? I understand if you find someone first, but like if I bring you this price, you're not going to renegotiate with me or anything like that, correct? You've got it. I do a bunch of due diligence too. And as long as we're setting clear expectations, I think it's good. We could have a conversation about not always doing exclusive guys because there is money there, even with the non-exclusives. But I think the point that I think I want to just stress with you guys as well, that I already Sam went into and Alejandro, is it's all about communication in the end. And if you're miscommunicating, you're going to break relationships that are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars, billions of dollars, to be honest, like over a lifetime, billions of dollars over $500. It's like you're not thinking straight.
It's kind of funny, right? Because most businesses screw up and drop the ball, not in the fulfillment. A lot of businesses screw up in fulfillment, right? Like, let's be honest, a lot of people, like, they just have terrible fulfillment. Like, they'll sell you on a promise and not actually do the thing they said. But people that are capable of doing the things that they said they would do, where they fail is in the communication. And the communication is where we see a lot of customer service goes down. This is the biggest thing. Like, the better a business can communicate with all the people it transacts with, employees, customers, and even internal, like as far as like operations, that will make a game-changing difference in your business. If all you did was over communicate, there's no such thing as over communication, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Like, if someone says, well, they over communicate, that person is saying, I suck at communication, I don't understand communication, so I feel like other people over communicate, because there's no such thing as over communication, right? Because it's constantly calibrating, it's constantly making sure that the other side understands what's going on, is kept updated moment to moment. I'd rather have something that over communicates, where I have the ability to simply mute it when I no longer need information, but have access to the information when I need it, versus wanting access to the information. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? And I can't get access to it. Just think about that in your personal lives, y'all. It's the same thing in business. If you're in a relationship and you're trying to figure out what's going on with your partner, with your best friend, with your parent, with whomever, and you can't get a hold of them, or they won't speak to you to tell you what's happening, that's worse than them constantly giving you these hour by hour text updates that you can simply turn the notification off because, like, I don't need this now, but it's nice to have when necessary. So I agree with Jonah wholeheartedly. Now, interesting enough, I'm curious to know, this started to come to me when, based on what Sam said and just based on where my mind's at personally with my business, and something that I will say, funny enough, I felt like I struggled with this, and I don't struggle with it as much anymore, but it is still something I have to consciously think about, where we always talk about this idea of lead with value. And JV partners, when they're new, they have a scarcity mindset, and the brain keeps going back to, like, all right, how do I win? How do I get money? How do I close the deal? How do I do this? How do I do that? I'm curious to know, out of you guys personally, how often do you have to remind yourself to come back to focus on the other guy, focus on the other girl, bring value to them? And when you bring that to to the forefront of your mind, do you actually see a direct increase in revenue, business? Like, basically, like, when you put your mind intentionally on servicing others and being of service to others, do you guys feel like that's just kind of like woo-woo fluff stuff that you don't really, like, Marlon, like, that's BS. Like, just go out there and go make money. Like, just go hit the dials, make the calls. Like, your intention doesn't actually matter. Just go follow the script and shut up. Or do you feel that it actually makes a difference when people set internally their intention on asking the question, how do I serve other people better? How do I serve the marketplace better? How do I serve the customer better? How do I serve my employees better? How do I serve my family better? Do you feel like having that sort of servant mindset has made you more money?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm gonna take this one right now, but I actually liken this very much back to the problem that we see a lot with a lot of newbies is they've never done a deal before. I'm gonna wait to get my first deal to then make my LLC. And then what they're doing is mentally, whether they realize it or not, they are making the existence of their LLC, right? And what is the LLC? It's the entity that you're gonna do all your business in. The existence of that is contingent upon if you get a deal, if you get a transaction. And then there's a mindset shift that needs to happen. You have to ask yourself, are you gonna do deals? Yes or no? Yes. If the answer is yes, great. How many? 100, 1,000, 10,000, a million? The answer should be as many as freaking possible throughout your lifetime. And the answer is not if they will happen, it is when they will happen, and they will freaking happen. Once you have that kind of agreement with yourself, it's funny. You actually aren't going to wait for your first deal to get the LLC. You're actually going to go ahead and do it right now because the deal is going to come. And then I think the same thing needs to happen with a new JV relationship or a new partnership. Very often is that in the beginning, when you're super new and you've never made a dime in the industry, too much of the time you're kind of chasing providing for yourself because you may be in survival mode. And I understand that you're like really clamoring for your first deal and it feels palpable and you can feel like you can touch it. And then it really just becomes very real. And then when that happens, is the problem is scarcity mindset will come in. And then now what ends up happening is now you start prioritizing the deal over the relationship, the deal over a shared profitable future, not for the next 30 days for this deal to close, for the next 10 years of all the property that you will do together, of all the transactions you will do together, for all the people's lives you're going to change together. So I think that at some point in everyone's journey, there will, or hopefully will be a time and a moment where they start to make the understanding that the relationships create the money and it's not the other way around. It's not that, oh, I'm going to do 50 deals and now everyone's going to love me. It's not how it works. Go get everyone to love you and you will do 50 deals with everybody. And then once that mindset shift happens, I think that's when people start approaching everything the right way. They become of service and not to be served. And when that happens, I think we start seeing a ton of momentum, a ton of shifts in momentum. I'd look at some people who are in my ecosystem who I've like kind of plucked and I've like they're newbies or newer. And I've spotted that they've had like leadership training or they could make fantastic leaders in some way, shape or form. And what do I do is like I pluck them and I put them in a position where they can kind of wrangle together 5, 6, 7 people, right? Something small and manageable. And I literally will tell them like, your focus is not on doing deals right now. Your focus is on serving all of them because guess what's going to happen? They're all going to go bring you a deal. Now your output is not 1-to-1, it's 5-to-1. And then every time I do that with like a mini leader or a sub leader, they just dominate. They freaking crush. And I think that's truly the most important thing is that mindset adjustment. And I mean, honestly, that's the reality of that is that's what it means to have an abundance mindset. It's truly at its core is asking yourself, is this the only assignment fee I'll ever make in my life? The answer should be hell no. Is this the only house that I'm going to buy? The answer should be hell no. And if you believe those answers, you will never put the money first. So again, I'm going to pass it off.
Yeah. I mean, it is everything. I make that the entire core mission of my business. Like if I brought up my like EOS stuff and I brought up like my core mission statement, it's literally the point of everything that we're doing is to solve sellers' problems, solve agents' problems, and solve buyers' problems. That's what we're doing. That's everything permeates my organization that way. When you look at my KPIs, it doesn't say deals closed. It says problem solved. When you like look at everything in my business relates back to it, and I very consciously make it where it's listed and you can't forget it. My biggest anxiety for my entire business is that they have that attitude you were talking about. It's like, where they're seeing me talk about it and they're like, all right, Jonah, that sounds like a bunch of BS. I'm going to go make the dials and get deals. That's my greatest fear. Because I don't know, as a leader, I still don't know if I'm not 100% sure if I'm constantly always able to get everyone realizing that is everything. It's everything in life. It's everything in business. It's everything in love. It's everything in literally every facet of your entire life. Family, you will get more by actually bringing value in everything, right? It's how you get everything you've ever wanted out of anybody, out of the universe, basically, is how much value are you giving? That how much money you make is a direct correlation of how much value you're giving to the marketplace, right? How much I feel like I would give that to everything. How much love you're getting from your girlfriend is in the end, how much value are you giving her, right? It's always that way, and I'm always constantly thinking about it. It's my greatest anxiety is that right now is like, am I making sure that my team also realizes that in the same way that I do? It's my greatest anxiety that I have been up at night thinking about like, damn, how am I going to reinforce this in everyone else's mind that we're not getting deals here, we're solving problems. And I think of different ways of how I can reinforce it every single time. It gives me all my revenue. Basically, my entire business is based off it. So every dollar I've ever made is based off that idea. Every real estate friendship I've ever made is based off that idea. Every relationship is based off that idea. Like it is the foundation for having the best life ever. Honestly, if you live life with that creed, everything in your life will become better. Because also what it does secretly, this is like another thing. This is from a book, Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. I don't know if you guys have read that one, but basically it makes you responsible for everything also, because you're just not giving enough value. And that's the truth. If you were giving enough value, Tony Robbins would respond. If you were giving enough value, you could talk to Joe Biden about whatever, right? So literally that's just everything in the end. So I don't know. That's my little soapbox, because this is that question hits the core of what I try to make everything in my life about now.
You're muted, Marlon.
Okay, I was worried that was just me.
Oh, cool. Yeah. All right. So, and I'm glad y'all are answering the question like this. And I want to know in the audience, guys, like, let me know in the audience if this is resonating with you. But like drop some fire, drop some like emojis in the audience, in the chat, if this is resonating, because these were the things I was wondering. I wanted to know this kind of stuff. Like when I would look at what people were doing, yeah, I can see what you're doing on the outside, but I wanted to know what was happening internally. Like, what were your intentions? Because I think the problem is oftentimes people copy what they see others doing externally. I'm copying your physical body movements, but I'm not understanding the intention behind why what you're doing and the energy in which you're doing it with. And that makes a massive difference. And whether a person wants to call it woo-woo or whatever, at the end of the day, what Jonah and Sam just said is true. If you're not giving enough value, if your bank accounts are slim, right? If you didn't make the money you wanted to make, you don't even have to ask me for my opinion on did you give enough value. The answer is no, you didn't. If you feel like you should have been making more money and you didn't, the truth is the marketplace does not feel that you gave it enough value, period. Right? Like that's a fact, right? Like, so you might say, well, I feel like I gave it. Well, the marketplace doesn't agree. Sorry. Like, y'all picking up what I'm putting down. The marketplace does not feel you gave enough value. It's okay though, because now you're here tonight. You're listening to Jonah. You're listening to Alejandro. You're listening to Sam, and you now have awareness. So now you're in a better position than you were 10 seconds ago, because now you no longer have to scratch your head about why you didn't make the money you want to make yet, and you can start asking the better question of, okay, how can I bring more value to the marketplace? And here's the nice thing. The value isn't what you view as valuable. The value is what the marketplace views as valuable. Start thinking from the standpoint of who is it that I'm serving and what do they find valuable, right? Homeowners, right? We're real estate guys. Homeowners find someone that can come and buy their property in as is condition very quickly without a hassle, and who communicates with them on time and treats them like a human being and listens to their problems. They find that valuable, right? Realtors find investors who aren't weekend seminar investors who just popped out of a 3-day event at a Marriott and who now feel like they're investors because they watched a couple of YouTube videos, that they're actually talking with real professionals who follow up on what they say what they're going to do, and present themselves professionally and follow through. Real estate agents find that valuable, right? Employees find a leader who has a clear vision, who can articulate that clear vision, who doesn't give them whiplash by jumping from one shiny object to the next shiny object, but is able to stay steady and create a pathway for their success. They find that valuable. When we start figuring out how to bring value to the other human beings in our life, you will receive the harvest. You will receive fruits from that harvest. I'm just happy we're.
Can I add something on, Marlon?
Please, bro.
Here's like a little tip and trick that all of you should write down who are watching this, because all of us do this. Because here's the next question, because I was a newbie once, and I remember this the first time Pace Morby ever talked about this stuff. It's like, give with value. Okay. How do I give value? Right? And really, the best way to do it is whoever's life you want that you see, copy how they're giving value, right? And if anybody ever gives you a pro tip of giving value, write it down and do it. Marlon, the other day when we were in Puerto Rico together, he gave me this was a genius idea. I was like, wow, that's amazing. He got it from somebody else. I don't even remember who he got it from, but he said, hey, when you do a podcast, instead of cutting up the reels and using for yourself, cut up the reels, make the other person look better, send it to them, then they'll post it. They're more popular than you anyways. They'll tag you. So you're going to get what you wanted out of that podcast anyways, which is to get more clout. And you're going to be giving value at the same time. And I'm like, wow, that was like genius. So I do that with every single guest that I'm like, that is bigger than me at this point, right? Copy. When you hear really interesting ways of giving value, write it down. Like write it down. It isn't officially called this, but I basically have a ton of notes that are just different ways of giving value that I'm like, wow, that's genius. I'm going to do that from now on. Right. So copy everyone else. Being a copycat is a good thing in business. I know in school it was a bad thing. In business, it's the best thing ever. You should just copycat whoever you're trying to be like. Every single part of it. Right? As if you want to be as close as possible, copycat them as much as possible. Right? All of us are copycatting Pace to some degree, right? Depending on how much we want to be like him. All of us are copycatting him on different things, right? So really, whoever you're trying to be, whoever you look up to, just copy them. Like it shocks me that people think they have to be original. Nobody's original. I'm not even sure. I think there's a theory out there that Jesus Christ went to India and learned about Buddhism. I read this whole article on it the other day, right? And then he made it his own thing and made a whole new religion out of it, but got inspiration from that. I don't know if that's true, but the point is that it is every single successful person you know copied 95% from somebody else and then added their 5% flavor to it. So I don't know. I just wanted to add that on there.
And Jonah, you're absolutely right. In fact, I think I've shared this story in the past, but it'll be good for people to hear again. My background was in parkour before real estate, and I was a parkour coach and a parkour pro athlete. And I remembered when I was in my gym one day coaching, we had this young kid, Danny Atkins. He was about 14 years old. He did a sport called tricking, right? So it's mixed martial arts tricking, where this is when you see the guys doing like the kicks and the flips and like all that cool stuff for the competition. So they're basically showcasing and demonstrating their moves and mobility. And world-class athlete at a very young age. He was coaching 2 other young kids. So Danny's about 14. He's got like a 10 and an 11-year-old that he's coaching, and he's showing them how to become world-class. And I remembered I was sitting in the room one Friday night watching him, and he said to them, listen, Guys, right now, the problem is you're trying to do your own style too soon. What I need you to do is I need you to copy the fundamentals, the foundation that I'm giving you. I need you to implement this foundation right now so that you can apply it to yourself. I want you to apply the foundation, get that mastered because somebody has already figured out the skill. Someone has already figured out this trick. They already understand how it works perfectly. Take that, master it, and then after you master it and it no longer takes conscious energy, begin to throw your flavor and your style on it, just like dancing. Learn the 4-step and then start to throw your style and your swagger into it. And I remember just sitting there like, am I really listening to a 14-year-old right now give like some of the deepest wisdom advice to like 10 and 11-year-olds? And these kids are like, oh, that makes perfect sense. And I'm sitting there like, that makes perfect sense. And so that became something exactly what you just said, Jonah. When I got into this world of real estate and entrepreneurship, I didn't try to reinvent the wheel. I literally went and found out who was doing what I wanted to do. And I just started copying. And when it no longer was what I wanted to do, and I got from them the pieces of their life that I want, I jump over. I copy people to this day. And I'm very okay about it. In fact, when people sit and talk with me, you'll often hear me give credit to the places that I copy from. I'll say names like Alex Hormozy. I'll say names like Pip Stellick. I'll say names like Pace Morby. I'll say Cody Barton. I'll let you know where it is that I'm grabbing this information from. And I'll brag about it. Why? Because I didn't make it up. Right? So I could brag all I want because I'm just talking about something that works, period. It works. So I love that. So I think that's helpful for people tonight. I'm curious to know, though. How's life been since Puerto Rico, bro?
It's been good, dude. I did a traveling tour for a little bit. I was back in Denver for like 3 days. Then I went to San Francisco because I missed my family. I hadn't seen my parents in like 8 months. So I was like, I wanna see them. So I went to San Francisco, hung out there, did a meetup with Lonza and Ty, which was really fun. That was a sick meetup. Like I like that meetup the most because I don't know how like you guys speak at meetups. So like there's like always like if it's like in a brewery, shit is distracting. There's like noise going on. It's really annoying. This one, like we had the whole place to ourselves. Basically, it was quiet. I was able to like. I feel like I was able to like really own in some speaking skills stuff and really get some moments of just like pure silence where I'm like, damn, I really hit that. Let's go. That was really fun for me because like it's really you can't hit that if there's just other stuff going on. So that was fun. And then Munif, like a week, like while I'm in SF, texts me, puts me on a flyer, and it's like, bro, you're coming to Texas. I'm like, what do you mean I'm coming to Texas? What do you mean right now? It's like, yeah, I want you to speak with me at these meetups in Texas. And because me and him have been talking about doing like meetups and stuff like that anyways. Like we've been planning it for too long. And he's like, all right, somebody just has to make this happen. It's like, Jonah, you're coming. And I'm like, well, you put me on the flyer, so I guess I'll fly out to Texas. So flew out to Texas, hung out in Texas for 4 days. That was cool. We hung out with, did meetups with him, hung out a little bit with Vina. She lives in Dallas, and that was really interesting. Like talking to her about some multifamily stuff. I might be, or I'm going to be calling agents, commercial agents in her community. That's something that I'm going to have happen. I'm like, Vina, you realize I've like residential agents are all I've ever called. And she's like, oh, it's like the same thing. I'm like, I don't know if it's going to be the same thing, but okay, I'll trust you. Like I'm not down for it. So those were the fun things. And then I've been back in Denver and man, I have after October, because October is going to be a crazy travel. I want to chill for a while. Like I'm good on the traveling. I love Denver. I want to hang out. The thing is I'm going to come back and it's going to be winter. And then I'm going to be like, all right, never mind. I do want to get the hell out of here. But life's been good, bro. I don't know. Like it's been good. I feel like the greatest business problem I've been dealing with was that anxiety of, is this connecting with the people I'm talking to in my business, right? Mm-hmm. I've seen it slipping recently in my business, and I've seen the revenue go down because of it, right? Like last month was like $100K month. This month so far, it's looking like a $50K month. And I think it has a lot to do with people are not remembering what are we doing here? What are we in the end doing here, right? There are other things too that are getting fixed, but I think that's the key one. And for instance, my greatest red flag was one of my guys, love him to death. One of my greatest salesmen. But he was like, hey, I'm going to miss the morning meditation because I want to drive there and I don't want to miss any work. And I messaged him. I'm like, I'd rather you miss work than the morning meditation. 100%. I'd rather you miss an hour of work than the 15 minutes of meditation.
Wow.
And then I did. And then after that, I was like, I need to have a speech with the whole company. And I went to the whole company today and I was like, guys, do you guys know why I do this? I don't know if I've ever actually explained to you guys why I do this. Who knows? People said some decent enough answers, right? And I'm like, guys, all of your jobs are incredibly stressful and anxiety ridden. Like, you guys are doing hard work here. I am doing this so that you guys keep your cool and realize, like, hey, in the end, we're here to solve problems, and that's amazing. But life's going to be good no matter what. You are here in the moment. I went into this whole speech, but anywho, that's been slipping. That's been like that today that really hit me of like, yeah, there's some systems things that could be done better, but that's really the thing that I feel like I'm like, when this slips, everything slips.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when I don't work out in the morning. If I don't work out in the morning, the rest of my day sucks in comparison. I'm way more anxious. I'm just way more stressed. Once I do that, the day already starts off as an L. So then like there's already been a big loss for me if I didn't work out that day. So then it's like, it's easier to let myself not do the other habits as well. Right. So yeah, I don't know. That's how I've been though. These are the thoughts that are coming to my head.
That's some real talk. And this is like what I love about like the Think Big podcast, where it's like, this is real conversation. Like, guys, if we weren't filming, like this would be like, this is like kind of what it's like to have a phone call with like us, right? Like we're just like talking about life. And I like this because, you know, Jonah, like, and this is something you and I, like Sam, Alejandro, we all do this for ourselves. We'll go and we'll travel to meetups or we'll go to events or conferences. Like I will go to different places for reminders to get my energy back up, to make sure I'm back in alignment. Like, and I'll kind of have this like, oh shoot, like how did I get off course again? And going to a meetup or meeting or having a conversation with someone slaps me back in, even though I'm doing like my rituals and I'm doing my habits. I still every now and then need something outside of me that like puts me back into alignment. Do you do that for your team? Is that like something where, you know, once a quarter, we as a team hop on, like we all go and we read a book together, or we all go to like I let them know this is the conference I'm going to and they should attend as well, or here's the Zoom login, we're going to do this 3-day weekend seminar, or I bring somebody into my team and they do a workshop with them. Like, is that stuff you do?
Yeah. So you guys ever read the book Traction? It's by the same author as Rocket Fuel. So in that book, they have the EOS meetings, which is, or I think, at least I call them the EOS meetings. I forgot what they're called, but basically they're the quarterly meetings. So I run quarterly meetings like that 100%, where we go back to the vision, we go back to the mission. What I realized also today was like, I fired like 75% of my staff at the beginning of this quarter. That's why nobody 100% is in tune with the mission. I should have just done an early one, because we fired 75% of the people and then rehired 75% of people. This quarter's been pretty wild for me. I partnered up with an integrator. I completely changed stuff up, and like I had the most profitable quarter I've ever had, but I realized people feel like I realized I'm like, everyone is feeling something, but I haven't vocalized it enough, because except for the people who did stay, they know it because I've talked about it over and over again. I might do it for a while, twice a quarter, maybe even once a month. Just do the EOS meeting and just review it, just because I don't know. I need that in everyone's heads. I need people to understand that I'm not just a crazy person when I say problem solved instead of deals closed in the KPIs, right? So I do that. I also made a goal for myself when I hit the 1.25 mil revenue for this year, that every quarter after that, I'm going to fly my entire team out to Denver and we're going to do like an in-office EOS meeting and have like a weekend as a team. Because I think also the virtual side, there are some negative downsides to being all virtual that I don't like. And I don't know if I can solve it. I talked to Pace about it. Pace was like, everybody I know who's successful has a real in-office, like office. I'm like, okay, I may have to do that. But if let's try some stuff out and see if I don't have to do that. So I'm going to try some stuff like that where at least we're once a quarter all together and just see how that goes. But yeah.
That's Jonah, I love that, bro. First off, I gotta say, like, this is timing. Like, this is like some God timing for me, man. Or this is like some Jesus learning Buddha, like whatever you said earlier. I love that.
I just read an article on
it. There's somebody that heard that and like they signed off. They're like, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
But dude, like, no, like traction actually came back up like several times in the last 5 days, which anytime I kind of get like those reoccurring signs, it means, it's time to dive back into traction. But I love what you said. Right? It's you revisit. By the way, if you guys haven't read Traction, if anyone in the audience hasn't read Traction and you're trying to build a business and you haven't yet made it click in your mind that a business is a set of systems, that you need to go read this book. It's one of the best books, in my opinion, that explains the system as a whole and how to put those components together. And
it's my favorite book on scaling. Like if you feel like you're ready to scale, I feel like that's the book for you. If you're still just trying to do your first deal, don't worry about that book yet.
Yeah. If you haven't made money, like once you're like, hey, I'm trying to make money consistently and I'm going to involve other humans in what I'm doing, this book is going to be very helpful. Yeah. And so I agree with you wholeheartedly, though, the meeting in person. Because, I mean, Sam, you and I, like, we talk all the time. But when I see you in person, it's a totally different vibe, right? Like it's kind of like being in a long distance relationship. Like, sure, like you can make it work, but at some point, it's like we need to go physically be in the same room together. Like that needs to happen at some point in order to take this relationship to the next level. And so within an organization, I think it's the same thing amongst its people. I've got a buddy of mine who runs several multi six-figure operations with VAs all across the Philippines. And he actually would get onto a plane and once a quarter, he would fly out to them and he would do his meeting with them in person. And he said, like, it just boosted morale so much and business increased drastically by that little thing. And everyone else kept asking him, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Because we're all following the same system. How are you out producing us in results? And he remembered to keep the people, like to give the people what they need. And sometimes people need that coming together. They need that physical proximity with one another. So I freaking love that, man. Love to hear that, like, your business, that you're recentering and keeping the important thing the important thing.
Yeah, man. And also an add-on to it too, because I think part of yours was also like everyone, at least everybody has required reading. I give different reading depending on their roles. So like for me, what I give all my salespeople is Never Split the Difference. They have to read that book first because that's my favorite book on sales personally. Everybody has required reading too, because we're here to self-develop. We're here to develop you too, right? But books are the easiest way to do that. It's like the cheapest and easiest way to do that ever. It's like kind of ridiculous. So I threw it on there.
And I don't think this was like a crazy assumption to say that you would kick people out of your organization even if they were like massive closers, they were locking up deals, they were making you money, but they started to fall out of line with the values.
100%. Because what are we even doing here if we're not doing that? Like, what is even the point of all this? Money is fleeting. Kanye West has a great quote. Money is like air. When you have none of it, then it's something. But when you have enough of it, it's like you don't even think about it, right? I like, what is even the point of all this? What's the point of being alive if we're not going to stick to our values? I don't know. This is just how I think about things, or I've started to think about things. Like, who cares about money? Money comes and money goes. And also this is a confidence that comes from me. Like, if I absolutely had to, I could just fire everyone and go back to the like the dialing if I absolutely had to, right? I really don't want to, and I definitely don't think I need to at all. But like if worst came to worst, like if you know there was tragedy, whatever, I don't know. Like that confidence in it makes it where like I'm willing to fire someone who brings in $100K a month if they're like screwing people over or like doing something I don't agree with.
Bro, Jonah, you're tapping on something right now, which is like I made a thread the other night, and I got this from listening to Myron Golden. If you guys have never listened to Myron Golden, I recommend him, especially if any people in here are like Bible-based people. Like he's one of my favorite people to listen to as far as like business and like scripture coming together. But he said something, right? You just talked about having the confidence to you make decisions based on who you are as an individual. You've grown and developed as an individual, which lets you make higher and higher level decisions, producing more and more value in your business, in your life, and in the lives of others. That's a byproduct of you becoming more. And that happened because you put in the work. And so I want to read you this thing, right? Because some people get overwhelmed when they're looking at building. And the reason you're overwhelmed is because you didn't master one component at a time. You need to master one component, then master the next component, then master the next component, and stack these components on top of each other. What you did was you learned about something and thought that meant you learned it. And so because you mastered the components, you took the time to master each of them and you stacked them, you're now able to build, you're able to bring other people in, but it also gives you this feeling as you're standing on top of your tower that, hey, if this tower got knocked over, I'm not really all that worried. I'm not stressed out. I can play this game with the thought process of how to win, not how not to lose, because I know how to build and I can just rebuild all this if I needed to, which puts you in a way different position than someone who won the lottery, like a lottery mindset. And they're like, crap, if this falls away, I don't know how to get this back again. And that's because it was handed to them versus you went out and built it. Built, not bought.
Yeah.
Bro.
It's also, and I also feel like, and I know I'm talking a lot. I'm the special guest, so I am going to talk a lot. It's okay. Yeah, like I got invited on. All right, I must be somewhat cool. It's also not having an ego. That's been something I've been working on a lot recently. Of being like, I'm okay with telling people I had 100K month last month, and this month it was cut in half in 50K, right? Probably, unless somebody brings in a deal really like because it brings in a deal that's going to close in 5 days, right? I'm okay with that. Like I've just realized if even if I lost my entire business and everyone's like, oh God, that's the Scorch Method guy. Have you heard? Blah, 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 blah. I'm just like, bro, it's all noise, dude. It's all noise. None of it matters in the end. I'm getting really good. I'm trying to get really good at not having an ego because that's going to be really important for all four of us because we're all skyrocketing right now, right? We're all on like a rocket ships. It's really important. It's just remembering not to have that ego too, because I think that helps a lot because then I'm less worried about things that aren't even really real, to be honest. It's like not really, really real. Like I've had, anyways, but that's my little extra add on there.
I was about to say, man, because we could open up a whole can of worms and like, I want to end this one with like one final question. I want to keep the answer as quick as possible, but how important?
Oh, damn, we're at the end.
Yeah, bro. Like this is like,
I love it, guys. This is just me hanging out with these guys. Like literally, anytime they hit me up, I'm like, hell yeah, I get to hang out with my boys right now, and I get to drop some knowledge. So, anyways, sorry. What's the question?
No, dude, it's all good. Yo, check this out. I want to know. Hopefully, people are going to get so much value from this, guys. Like, pay attention.
Hopefully, my answer is good.
Yeah. Hopefully,
Hopefully Jonah comes up with something good.
I don't know what the answer is. I texted it over to him, like, yo, answer it. Like,
oh, did you?
No,
oh, okay. That would have really
imagine. That's how we do all our shows. We're actually just like shooting our guests.
Just feeding me stuff. We got a teleprompter.
As you've been growing, how important has it been for you, right? Let me put it this way. I'm going to frame the question. You were rewarded in the very beginning of this journey for picking your head up and looking around, right? Like looking around to see what's out there, see what's next. Ooh, look at that. Ooh, I can do this. Ooh, I can do that. You were rewarded because that took you out of the world you were in and dropped you into this world of entrepreneurship with opportunities. Now that you're in this world, how much are you not looking up anymore and looking around and more so putting the blinders on?
Funny enough, Okay, so this is like a really interesting answer to your question. This might not be the answer you were expecting or wanted. I have been in blinders mode. The first year of entrepreneurship I ever had was full on. I'm going to start a direct to seller business. I'm going to start a direct to agent business. I'm going to do flipping. I'm going to do all sorts of crazy things. And I made $10,000 in my first year of entrepreneurship, because this is the metaphor that I use. You're trying to cross a river in entrepreneurship. You're trying to get to a destination, right? You're trying to cross a river. If I try to do it through flipping, direct to agent, direct to seller, creative, everything, wraps, sober living, I just created 5 bridges to try to cross one river, all 1/5 of a river. And it's just like, why did I do that? You need to construct one bridge to cross the river, guys. One bridge to cross the river. So I've actually been in blinders mode, bro. Like, I really have been focusing on direct to agent, wholesaling. Every time I've been deviating from that, unless I have a really good partner, it ends up being such a goddamn distraction, and it's so annoying, right? Like, I have this one deal, I have this one wrap where honestly, I kind of screwed up the numbers, and I've been paying like four payments on it, and it's like, wow, this is so annoying. I really want a wrap buyer for this already, right? Super aggravating. Anyways, but the point is that I have been in blinders mode, but the funny thing is because I've been in blinders mode for now 2.5 years straight, now my business is at a point where it's like, okay, now I actually can open up again, because my business doesn't need me as much anymore. I'm the sales manager still, and that still is an important role. But in comparison to even a month ago, where I was the hiring manager and the sales manager and the CEO, I guess I still am the CEO and the sales manager. I can now I have more time than I've ever had, or than I've had in the past 3 years, to be honest, to do meetups, to do social media. I've had the most time in 3 years in entrepreneurship in a while. So I'm realizing, because I'm getting my time back, it's like, okay, let's fill it up with some new things. Like, I want to start getting into multifamily. I've been very strategically becoming friends with Vina, where like she really likes me now. And so like that's how I got the relationship where now I'm going to be doing agent stuff with her in her mentorship, right? So it's funny, my blinders are coming off at this moment. So I don't know how that kind of doesn't answer the question, right?
But like, you answered the question perfectly, because I want to highlight for people, for anyone that might have missed it, or like, I want to make sure they understand it. Jonah just said in the beginning, for 2.5 years, blinders were on, because the first year of business, he made $10,000 because he was trying to do everything at once. Then you narrowed it in. He said, I do one thing, direct to agent wholesale, period. Not direct to agent, and I might buy and hold it, and I might fix and flip it, and I might direct to agent wholesale. A concise answer. 2.5 years focused on just that.
And every time I deviated, it was such a time suck. And I did deviate sometimes, right? Like I do own a few rentals. The rentals that I own with other people are way more what I want than the ones I don't own with other people. But anyway, sorry, not to interrupt.
Well, no, but you know what, dude? It's like the equivalent of, it's like, you know, every now and then, like, we quit drinking, we quit going out and partying at the club and going out on Saturday nights. But every now and then, it's like, well, you know, I kind of wonder what's happening at the club tonight. And, you know, I don't have plans. And we go out and, like, you do that thing. And then Sunday morning, you're like that. I already knew that wasn't worth it, but I did it again. Right? Like, at some point, it's like, guys, like, stop being stupid and just stick to your plan and stay on the path until you get where you want to be. Then throw a rooftop penthouse party and make it cool. Don't just go to your grimy little backdoor bar again. Like, that's not cool. So I love, Jonah, you answered the question, in my opinion, perfectly. Because I just want to highlight to people the importance of putting the blinders on and ignoring the noise and killing the distraction and getting rid of the static while you work. And just being locked in until you get to the point of having the results. Like, sometimes people are like, well, how long do I got to do it? Until you have the freaking results. Like, it took Jonah 2.5 years. If it took him another 2.5 years, he would still be sitting down, locked in until he's where he wants to be.
I feel like when you start knowing it, and I might be wrong about this, guys. I don't know. Maybe I'm going to go off and start doing multifamily stuff, and then the wholesaling's going to suffer. I don't know. I'm also don't 100% know the answer. To me, it feels like because my time is coming back to me. then it's time to start doing some greater things, right? Like I'm running out of ideas of how I could actually make the wholesaling more productive with me being involved at this point. I don't know if that even makes sense saying it out loud, but I think it would be, I don't think the production would get there from me trying to be more involved. In fact, it might take away from it because like I need to let it go. I need to let my baby go at this point.
You're maxing out.
They're starting to walk. It's going to kindergarten, you know, like it's a hard life.
You're maxing out your leverage, right? Like now it becomes like a law of diminishing returns. And at that point, right, you've maxed out more and better. You figured out how to do more of what you're doing. You figured out how to do it better. And now you're like, I don't really know how to do any better. And I don't really know how to do any more of this without just like throwing more people in it. But like, that's not the goal. I don't want an army of 40 people. Like I like the skeleton crew we run with. This is where this thing is most efficient. And now it's time to let the machine run and go build a new machine.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I mean, like it's,
Jonah, you're the freaking
dude. You guys are the men. I love coming on here, dude. It's such a good time. I'm so amped right now. Like it's such a good time. Like I just love talking to all of you guys. Like it's great.
Dude.
Thank you, brother. You're amazing, man.
Yeah.
So guys and girls, for those of you that are watching in the comments, first off, we appreciate all of you. John, Hurd, Donabella, Jim, like Bao, all of you guys. Seriously, we appreciate you, Don Rich, leaving comments, coming on there, liking the podcast, supporting every week. It means the freaking world. In fact, we got to give a big thank you to the audience because more and more of you have been sharing these podcasts with other people. I've been getting tags almost every day on Instagram, which has been extremely humbling. So thank you for that. It means the world to me. And I want y'all to keep sharing it. In fact, people are going back and watching older episodes, which is just insane to me. So I really do appreciate that. That means we're putting out value and the marketplace is finding what we're putting out valuable. Do me a favor. Continue to share this. Continue to like it. And do all the stuff. You guys are familiar with YouTube. You know what you need to do if you're here on YouTube. But this is the most important thing. We want to make this podcast about you. We're trying to grow the audience. We want to bring as much free value and free game to y'all as possible. So help us by going into comments afterwards. After the episode's over, go into the comments and let us know what you thought about this episode and what you want to see more of and maybe what you want to see less of, right? If you're like, hey, Marlon, you talk way too much and we want to see more of the bicep Batman over there talk more, like let him talk, like cool. I want to know what y'all want so that we can do our best to either give it to you or we can intentionally ignore it. Because if we're just like, I don't want to do that, then I'm just going to intentionally ignore it. But I just want to keep you involved. So, guys, we love you. Appreciate you. Jonah, for the people who aren't following you, who aren't connected to you, what's the best way to get a hold of you? Like, where do you want
the easiest way to get a hold of me is my Instagram, which is in there. You guys can also follow me on YouTube. That's going to be a lot of good stuff. If you guys are interested in doing a DTA business at all, I'm going to give you guys a link real quick. It's just jonahkorchin.com/resources, I think. Let me get it. Let me make sure I got the right one for you guys. I'll put it in the chat. This has my entire business, all my templates, all my scripts, everything that is just a document, hiring documents, basically anything that isn't my tax info is basically in this link. So if you want to start a direct to agent business, just get it. Like just click on the link. Literally just giving away my business for free. I love doing that on these podcasts. And I also love you guys. So I want your guys' audience to succeed, right? So 100% do that, right? There's like, you guys click 5 links on it, right? That's the one that just go there. You can just go to the website and you'll see it there. It's under resources. Yeah, I just want to give everybody it for free. So if you're doing DTA, it's free. Go get some resources.
Jonah freaking Korchin, bro. Why are you so gangster, dog? Like, why did I not know you had a website? Like, I'm over here like fanboying on your website right now.
It's only a week old, or like 2 weeks. That's why.
Yeah, I love it, bro. So, guys, make sure you plug in with Jonah. He will for sure be back on the podcast with us in the future. So go give him some love. Do me a favor. Make sure you screenshot, tag us all. Let us know what you learned. And like I said, leave a comment. We will be back next Tuesday, 5 p.m. Arizona time for for the Think Big podcast, episode 49. For now, peace out.